Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to help teens move forward. Sometimes when teens are in high school, they might be having a hard time making decisions for what comes next after high school. Sometimes they've already graduated and they're still having a hard time making a decision about where to go and what to do next. So if you're here, it could be because your teen is stuck or even disengaged. It could be that they're not moving forward. Maybe they seem fine. They just have no clear direction and you want to help them get some direction. Most likely you're here because your teen doesn't know what they want or how to figure it out. And what I want you to know is that you are not alone in this. It's actually quite more common than you would think. The question is, if they don't know what they want, how are they supposed to decide? The thing is, this is not laziness. This is not lack of opportunity, nor is it a parenting failure. This is a system gap. If we think about it, our kids have a lot of supports at school. Okay. And actually here in Nova Scotia, they really do have a lot of support. So they have the guidance counselors. They have their career class in grade 10. That's something that doesn't exist across North America. That's in Canada. So that's really cool that they have that. They have school liaisons, which is something that doesn't exist even elsewhere in Canada. That's a Nova Scotia thing. So they have all these supports. So then the question is, if they have all these supports, why are they still stuck? Why can they not make a decision and move forward? The thing is, these supports focus on applying to post-secondary education or actually the process of getting a job, writing resumes, interview skills, things like that. These are really important supports, but they don't actually help a student figure out which direction to go in. When they know what direction they want to go in, when they can make a decision about where to go next, then we can use these supports to help them get there, the process of making it happen. But they have to know where they want to go first. So right now, students are taught how to apply before they're taught how to decide. When a young person doesn't feel clear about who they are or where they're going, then being asked to make these decisions can feel incredibly overwhelming. And that's when we get stuck in indecision. It may look like a lack of motivation, but really it's a lack of direction. Research shows us that career guidance is connected to overall development, well-being, and whether young people actually move forward into education or work, but not when it's only about getting the job. Okay, so here's what we're going to be talking about today. 3 shifts that can get your teen unstuck. So these are mindset shifts. We're going to talk about the crucial missing step in career support, and then how do we provide that crucial missing step? I'm going to tell you the system that I have been using for over half a decade now. I'm Emma B. Perez. I am a certified career development practitioner who specializes in working with teens and young adults as they transition from education to career. This is something that I have been doing for over a decade now. All right, so let's just jump right to it. Let's start with the 3 shifts that can get your teen unstuck. So these are mindset shifts, understanding about how we make decisions for the future, that we need to shift a little bit and then we can be ready to take action. So the first one is when a student goes to someone and says, I'm not sure what I want to do, usually they're told to just pick something that they're interested in. Now, that's a great start, but it is incomplete advice. Usually that's all they're going to get, but that is incomplete. The reason is because some people don't know what they're interested in. Some people have multiple interests and they don't know which to pick. Some of them don't know what jobs they can get within an area that they want to study. I can't tell you how many times I've asked somebody, what are you going to study? What are you going to go to school for? And they tell me, and I go, "Oh, okay, so what kind of jobs can you get with that? What kind of work will you be doing?" And they have no idea. Also, sometimes young people know what they're good at, but they don't really know what to do with it. Schools teach to certain types of intelligence, but not all. And so a lot of times when a student is really good at a particular subject, that's what they'll go study. But then, like I said before, they may not even know what the jobs are that that leads to. But if a kid is not good at subjects in school, they might be good at other things. And if it's not a subject in school, they may not know what to do with that. They may not know what type of post-secondary education to go to, what kind of job to get, what kind of program to pursue, because it's not a subject in school. So it's hard for them to figure that out. So here's what I want you to keep in mind. This is the mindset shift I want you to have. An interest can help us determine an industry that we would want to work within. And maybe we have multiple interests, so it could potentially be multiple industries. Our personality and our skills helps us find the jobs within that industry. So the jobs that you could do could fit multiple different industries. And then finally, our values are what helps us make decisions, decisions about which job to pick or which industry to get involved in. It can help us make decisions about, should I take that job at that particular company in that particular location? Is that where I want to be? Is that the direction I want to go in? So it's really important that we know what our values are because that's our framework for decision making. I've had some people say to me, well, aren't teens too young to know what their values and priorities are? No, they are not. So, first, let me say a lot of us are aware that when we're in adolescence, our prefrontal cortex is still developing. And so I've heard some people say because of that, that's not the time to be doing this. I argue because of that, this is exactly the time to be solidifying values because they are actively developing that prefrontal cortex. So this is when they're laying the foundation. So this is the time to do it. I would also say that all of us have a sense of what feels right and what feels wrong for us. We all kind of innately know, but it usually lives in a part of the brain that doesn't have words. It's a part of the brain where it's feeling, it's a little bit more vague, right? When we go through a process of assigning words to what we innately know, then something magical happens. We now have a framework for decision making. It is much easier to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. So, this is actually really important work. I've also heard people say a person needs to live some life first to know what their values and priorities are. You can't really know until you've had some experiences. And it is true that circumstances change and life happens and things happen to you, and that can inform your values and your priorities, that can shape you. That is true. But first of all, that's I wouldn't say that's a reason to wait because who you are right now is who you are right now, and that's important too. It may shift and change, that's okay. But when you go through a process like this, it's easier to see when those shifts and changes are happening. Also, if we step forward in life just to um, gain some experiences before we make decisions, before we solidify our values and priorities, I call this the navigate as you go method. And I'm going to use an analogy here. I want you to think about, let's imagine that school is about teaching you how to navigate on the open water. Okay, so you go to classes where you learn about boat building and you learn about weather and all of these different things, right? And then you get to graduation, they put you in the boat and they push you out. And you go, but wait, you never taught me how to actually navigate. You gave me all the pieces, but not how to actually put them together. And people are on the shore going, it's okay, you've got all the pieces to figure it out for yourself. You will figure it out while you're out there. We don't have to do that. Somebody's already figured it out. We can give you an instruction manual. You don't have to navigate as you go. And again, like I said before, once you go through this process, then later on in life, as things happen and your thoughts and feelings shift and change, it's easier to recognize when that is happening and you can make those shifts more easily. All right, finally we have, I'm not sure my team will do this work because they just aren't motivated. Let's dig into that a little bit more. As you know, this transition into adulthood, from education to working, from being a child to being an adult, is incredibly overwhelming. And in my experience, there are two main ways that I have seen young people respond to this: avoidance and over preparation. It's two different responses to the same thing. And I'm going to give you an example of a family that I worked with. One family, two very different kids. So we had the older son who just was not motivated to make a decision to go anywhere or do anything. He basically was at home, on the computer making music, playing games, things like that, not really doing much of anything. The younger brother had all these ideas. There were so many things that he wanted to do, and there were so many potential post-secondary options for him, and he had collected all these different ideas. So he was the motivated one, and he was the one that had his stuff together, and it made it even worse because he was younger, so the older one felt even more, I don't know, incompetent. It didn't help the older one, right? In the end, neither one of them were making a decision. So the younger one looked motivated, looked like he had it together, but he still wasn't making any decisions. It's because they were both experiencing the same thing, but they approached it differently. The first one was like, I don't know what to do. So he was stuck and was like, this is stressing me out so much I don't even want to talk about it, you know? I'm going to focus on something else that I care about. The younger one was like, okay, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to gather all my options and I'm going to lay them in front of me. And it looks like I'm doing something. But then once he got everything there, he had nowhere to go. So here's what I want you to know. And I want you to write this down because this is good stuff, okay? The secret to having drive is knowing your direction. The answer to both of these scenarios is knowing your direction, okay? I'm going to use an analogy of GPS for you. Let's say you're going somewhere that you've never been before. You might use GPS to help you figure out how to get there. The first thing that you do is put in the end destination. Put in where you're going, okay? Your direction. And then it will show you all the potential paths that you can take to get there. You select a path based on most direct, greenest route. If you're driving, taking a bus, what have you, if you want to take the most scenic route, you're going to then select the path that you take. Once you select the path, then you just press go and you can go. And your first turn of do I go left or do I go right is not such a big decision because you're headed towards a certain direction. So if you want to have drive, you need to know where you're going. So both of these kids were stuck in indecision and they were just responding to that in two different ways. So when I was working with them, with the younger son, we worked on criteria for making a decision that was in alignment for him. He created a whole um, plan, a whole, like he did like a business pitch presentation to his parents about what he wanted to do and where he wanted to go so that they could get on his team and help make it happen. The older brother really, honestly, it was the same thing. We got in touch with, okay, why are you spending time on what you're putting your attention to? How important is that to you? And then all of these things that he was avoiding, it's because he just didn't have approach. So I gave him a systematic approach for evaluating those options. And again, now narrowing it down and making decisions for what's next for him. And he discovered training and education and a university that was in alignment with how he liked to spend his time. He didn't even realize that there were degrees for what he enjoyed doing. He had no idea. And so he found those and then made a decision to move into training for that. So the secret to having drive is knowing your direction. Let's recap real quick. So What are your interests? That's a good place to start, but we've got to go deeper than that. Personality and skills helps us find jobs within that industry, and our values help us make decisions. When we take what we innately know and we assign words to it, now we have a framework for decision making. And then we can set our destination, and then we can find our path to get there. And here's another thing that I want you to take away. When the person who's doing the driving is the one who selects the destination, that's where internal motivation comes from. Okay? Everything else, you got to do this because you got to graduate, because you got to get a good grades, because you need to have a job that pays a certain amount of money. That's all external motivation, and that doesn't last and it doesn't get you very far. But when you select your end destination for a reason that's important to you, then you're going to do what it takes to get there. You can even overcome obstacles. There's a wreck. Okay, let's reroute. Let's get around it. Let's find a way around this obstacle. That's what internal motivation is all about. And that is what we want for our young people. That's what's going to get them up, out of the door, moving and grooving. Okay? So, let's go back to how come this is not happening in our schools with our supports that we have right now. Like I mentioned, most of the supports they have focus on helping them apply, not helping them decide. So there is a missing step in this process. And this is where I specialize. I specialize in what I call purpose development. Now, what is purpose development? It is the combination of psychological development and career development. If career development is that let's get you the job, let's help you shift from job to job or career to career, purpose development is the prerequisite for that. So this is really what young people need as they transition from education to career, as they transition from adolescence into adulthood. So, this education to career guidance is really unique. Okay, it is unique it's a unique stage of life compared to other stages. It is a unique stage of career development, and it's this time in history is unique as well. So, providing education to career guidance is unique right now compared to previous generations. What you've got to keep in mind is that when young people, let's say they choose university, when they graduate from university, there will be jobs available to them that didn't exist when they graduated from high school. That's how quickly the job landscape is changing. So we can't just prepare them for the jobs that already exist. We also have to prepare them for jobs that don't exist yet. And purpose development not only will provide that missing step, but will also provide them for the future of work. So, what is this all about? Psychological development tells us that identity formation is a crucial task during adolescence. All right, teens are finding their own identity separate from their families. This is why, by the way, side note, if you have a teen who just doesn't listen to anything you say, everything you say goes in one ear and out the other, someone else can say the same thing you are saying, and they will hear it from that other person. This is why. It's really annoying, but it's actually a natural part of psychological development. And what's interesting is that occupational goals are an aspect of multi-dimensional identity formation. Okay, so identity formation is crucial in psychological development, but it's also a crucial step in early career development. Studies show that teens stuck in identity limbo may feel unmotivated or overwhelmed by questions about college, careers, or values. When teens feel unclear about who they are or what they want, that confusion is strongly tied to feelings of hopelessness and deep emotional pain. It's not the other way around. Okay? Helping them explore their identity can be just as important as supporting their grades or their social life. Now, really quickly, in this context, when we're talking about identity, we're not just talking about background, although that can be a part of it, but we're talking about the full picture of who a young person is becoming. Their interests, their values, how they think, what energizes them, how they see the world, and how they want to contribute to it. So, like I said before, it's not laziness, it's not lack of opportunity, it's not a parenting failure. It is a system gap. It is a missing step that is absolutely crucial. Identity synthesis is associated with higher life satisfaction in the long term. Internal alignment boosts decision clarity, persistence, and well-being. Okay? So, let's talk about this. What is identity synthesis? What is purpose development in more detail? Well, this is a little equation that I put together for you here. We're going to start by defining success. Like I mentioned before, the secret to having drive is knowing your direction. So, defining success for oneself is a big chunk of that, selecting a destination. We have sort of a general understanding of what success means. I mean, there's the definition version, excellence in a given field. There's also society puts a definition on it. You can tell me what that is for you. But what's really important is for each individual person to have the chance to define success for themselves, which may be similar to our societal definition, and it could look a little bit different. That's okay. It's important to give our youth the chance to define what that looks like for them. Next, we want to start to develop some power skills. What are power skills? Well, let's take a quick look at what employers say they're looking for in employees. Here are some of them right here. And as you're looking through them, you might notice that hard skills, like technical skills, are there, but they're kind of barely there. Everything else that you see here is a soft skill. These soft skills are becoming more and more important as we're seeing technology shift and change. It's really important for us to differentiate ourselves from technology and from machine. It's important for us to lean into what makes us human. Just really quickly, side note, as technology changes, yes, there will be job disruption. People will lose jobs. But what I want you to keep in mind is that they're not just losing jobs, jobs shift and change. Okay. And there are employers who are investing in reskilling the current employees that they have. So we've got to be agile for the shifting technology. We've got to learn how to work with it. It's a dance, right? Technology does fancy things, the human leads. Together, the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. So we need to lean into what makes us different from machine and technology. And that's really what soft skills are. And these are becoming so important that they are being rebranded as power skills. All right, so we're not calling them soft skills anymore, they are power skills. Now, the question is, how can one develop these skills? With experiences and opportunities like service projects, clubs, arts, sports, brain power training that you see at CSL Academic Center. When you think about all of these things, that is really where these soft skills are developed. Now, let's talk about unique value. What do I mean when I say that? What is that? It's important to give our youth a chance to discover what their unique value is. And one's unique value is found at the crossroads of who you are and how you can serve. So, who are you? What makes you you? Experiences in your life, things that you care about, how you like to spend your time, etc., etc. And then, how can you serve? I'm going to give you an example of someone that I worked with who, when we first started working together, she was interested in working in childcare. Um, so she did some nannying, she did some daycare work. She really liked working with young kids. And this was sparked by a job that she had in high school where she did some um, camps and things like that. And so she did that for a couple of years. And while she was doing that, she said, I really miss gardening. There was a camp that she did in particular where she got to do gardening with young people, and she really loved it. And she was a vegan, and she thought it was really cool, kind of thinking about where her food came from. And so she decided to make a shift, a change. She went to she got an apprenticeship working on an organic farm. And so she did that for a while and loved it. And then we found her a job, a full-time job at a different organic farm. And she was doing that, and she actually really loved it. But then she started to miss kids again. And she was like, what do I do about this? I keep going back and forth. So we spent some time thinking about it. And the farm that she worked on was not an agritourism farm, it was a true working farm. But she realized there was an opportunity here for this farm to bring in some new streams of income by hosting birthday parties, hosting field trips, or even having some camps on the farm that taught young people about farming and about where their food came from, which is something that she particularly really loved the idea of sharing this information and this knowledge with young people. And so she was able to put together ideas to go to her employer, the owner of this farm, and say, look, I have these unique set of skills that can come together in this unique way to create new streams of income for this business. And then the owner loved it so much, they set up a plan to start incorporating that over the next few years and to eventually make her even partner for the farm. So this is what I'm talking about when I say, what is your unique value and how can you put that together in a unique way? Finally, we want to start implementing an entrepreneurial mindset for young people as well. Since we do need to prepare them for jobs that don't exist yet and for constant shifts and change, employee mindset, which is what we get at school, is not enough. It's still important, but it's not enough. We also need to cultivate an entrepreneurial mindset, okay? So this is when we take our unique value. What makes me me? How can I serve? We see where this overlaps, and then we ask ourselves, what can I create, offer, lead that fits me uniquely, that is unique to my experiences and how I can serve. And then you can start to think about how one might monetize this. Also, within all of this, you can do the work to find out what your transferable skills are, how your unique value can apply in different ways. There's just so much that you can do with this. So, purpose development is really about solidifying those values and priorities, defining success for yourself, taking the time to explore your interests, develop your power skills, uncover your unique value, and apply all that with an entrepreneurial mindset. A lot of this is identity formation, which is that missing piece. And here's the thing. When someone goes through this process, it is going to give you what I think are the two most important skills for moving into a future that we can't predict with jobs and technology that are changing constantly. And that's grit, stick-to-itiveness, and adaptability. Remember, having drive is knowing your direction. When you pick your direction, that's what gives you internal motivation. And that internal motivation is where grit and adaptability are born. So the question is, how do we deliver this to our teens? If they're not quite getting this in schools, how do we deliver this to our teens? Well, the typical approach for providing um, college and career readiness to youth is to say, okay, which university are you going to? There is still a stigma against any other post-secondary options other than university. Most of the time, they are going to be encouraged to go to university that looks good for the school, right? To have a bunch of graduates going on to university. So usually it is where are you going to school? And some places will explore other post-secondary options. But usually it is, all right, where are you going to go learn? Then after an institution, a school is picked, then what are you going to study at that school? Remember what I said before? A lot of times I ask kids what they're studying and then I say, "Oh, what are you going to do with that? What jobs can you get?" And they have no idea. Usually it's not until they're almost done with it before they even know what the jobs are. Then they get those jobs. They're living the life that that job provides. And then they're going, "Oh, this is the life that I get with this job." And then they have a moment of, is this even what I want? Is this what I want? Maybe. Maybe they stumbled into something that works for them, but maybe they're realizing this isn't really what I want." And we do see a lot of career shifts in adulthood. So, what we need to do is we need to flip this approach around the other way. Identity formation, the missing step. Who are you? What do you care about? Then, based on that, what kind of life are you wanting to live? What do you want that to look like? Then, what jobs, what occupations, what industries, what careers fit who I am and the life that I want to live? Then you find the educational path for that. It may very well be university, or it could be other post-secondary options. And then once you know which educational path, which training you need, then you find the school that will give that to you. That's the approach that we need to take. So, how do we actually deliver this? I'm going to give you a step-by-step process here. Okay, this is what I use. This is the 6 P's of purpose development for youth, and this is a recipe. You want to go in this order to get the best results. We're going to start with who you are, person. Self-discovery, giving teens a chance to discover their values and why those are their values, to uncover their unique value, to think about what they're afraid of and what they hope for. Second step, priorities. This is that life step. What kind of life do you want to live? What drains your energy? What fills you up? How do you prefer to spend your time? What do you care about on this planet? What do you want to give your time and attention to? Then pocket. We haven't gotten to professions yet, right? Now we need to talk about making and managing money. Once you know what kind of life you want to live and how you want to spend your time, how do you financially support that? And in today's world, a job is one income stream type. It's one way to make money out of 8 income stream types. So again, when we're preparing young people for work of the future, we need to make sure they're aware of what all of the income stream types are, okay? And then how they can utilize these to make the life that they want happen. Now we can get into career exploration. Having done those steps first means that when you are considering careers, you now have more criteria for evaluating your options, including, will this financially provide what I need? Does it fit me? It's that framework for decision making, right? And as they engage in experiences and they may have opportunities at their school to try out some different occupations, they're going to go to those experiences with, like I said, more criteria for decision making, a way to evaluate those experiences. Now we have possibilities, goal setting. Which are my top options? Which steps will take me there? Who can I ask for help? So this is when we select that end destination and we see all of the different routes that we can take to get there, possibilities. And then we evaluate our steps to get there. Maybe they won't have a choice and they need to do university. Maybe they won't have a choice and they do some other training, but they could have a choice between university, college, or other types of training. And in that case, how do you pick? Let's calculate your return on investment here. Is your salary when you're in the field commensurate with how much you're going to spend on your education? That's what this step is all about. And then how do we take action to make it happen? Here's the other thing I want you to know. We can put in that end destination, we can select a route, but if you don't turn the car on and put your foot on the gas, you're still not going to get there. You have to take action. So that's what this is all about. And then finally, plan of action. This is your immediate next steps. Okay, what educational path, which school for that educational path. And now I can apply. Now I can go through the process of getting into that school. So in this process, students will craft their own definition of success. They will find their unique value and know how to communicate that. They will select that end destination, know how to get there, what steps to take to get there, and find internal motivation to make it happen. Most students just end up following the crowd, right? So if a young person doesn't know what they want to do, they either get stuck or they follow the crowd. They just hop on a train that everybody else is on because everybody else is on it. And sometimes that looks like, oh, that kid's going places. My kid's just over here stuck. Your kid saw that that may not be the train for them. It may take them somewhere they don't want to be. And so they had the guts to say, hang on a minute. But they're not moving forward because they don't have a system or guidance to know which train to get on, to know which direction to move in. Other people don't have the guts for that. They just follow the crowd, no matter where it's leading, whether it's the right one for them or not. So, with these 6 P's to purpose development, this is going to save a lot of time, right? The navigated as you go method is very time consuming. You're trying out things. If you hop on the train, follow the crowd, if you get stuck, all of that's very time consuming, right? So with the 6 P's to purpose development, you're going to save time. You're going to save heartache. When you have no direction, you can end up with what I call what's the point syndrome. Okay, imagine, let's go back to our GPS analogy. Um, Imagine someone says to you, you just got to get in the car and drive because this is the time that people are driving. Like, if you're not driving, what are you doing? And you say, well, but I don't have a destination. It doesn't matter. You just need to be driving. So you get in the car and you get to a turn and you go, I don't know, left or right. I guess I'll go left. All right, I guess I'll go left again. Why are you even taking those turns? Where are you going? What is the point to all of this? There isn't a point. That's when you end up with what's the point syndrome. But having that direction, you won't have what's the point syndrome. You'll know exactly why. You'll know exactly where you're going. You'll overcome those obstacles. Okay? And this process could potentially save you even tens of thousands of dollars. A lot of times when kids don't know what they want to do, they're told, oh, you can figure it out when you get to university. So they go into university. But then what? There's nothing at university to help them decide. That support doesn't exist in university either. So the only thing they can do is declare a major, start working towards that degree, and if it's not right, they change their major. So they've spent a semester or even a year trying out an option. That's tens of thousands of dollars to try one option. So this process will save you time, heartache, and money. Here's the thing. We are asking teens to make life-shaping decisions in a world that's changing faster than ever. And we're doing this, we're asking them without giving them a structured way to understand who they are, what they value, and how they can navigate that world. So most teens are choosing courses, programs, and even career paths without clarity, without context, and without real understanding of how the world of work actually functions today. Again, this is not a parenting failure. it's a system gap. So the question becomes, how do we actually give teens this experience? CSL Academic Center and I are working together to bring workshops to you and your teens. We have a few workshops in mind, and what we want to know from you is which ones are the highest priority to you and your teen. So, this QR code right here will take you to a survey. It takes 2 minutes. You can tell us which workshops you want. You can share your teen's age and interests with us and indicate if you'd like early access when registration opens. The more interest we receive, the faster we can make this happen. So please share this with other parents. If you know other parents that are having similar concerns or just have teens at all, share this with them. Again, the more interest we have, the faster we can make this happen. Thank you all so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to answer them.